Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Raptrz. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I made a top tier build video. I was rating on that card rework, revamp, introduction of new cards, which we will be using in these two decks I'm about to show you. So I'm sorry and I apologize for the lack of builds recently, but fortunately we got the builds out for you guys. I got a couple builds on the way. Also, I've been busy with school and with work, and I just haven't had time to put together these quality videos for you guys. So I do apologize. But anyways, let's get down to business. Today we are here, and Richter is back. And today I'm showing you two full tank builds that will help you dominate as a Space Warden himself. Playing as Richter definitely takes more skill to master when compared to your traditional supports in Paragon. His bread and butter is that devastating pull to silence combo and his abilities that capitalize on heavy crowd control. Richter is a controller, right? Through control, you'll be able to support your carry and your teammates with highly skilled pulls, and goddamn, Richter is hella fun to play. If you haven't played Richter, right now is a good time because Richter is definitely viable right now. Definitely viable, especially if you're good at pulling off those pulls. You will love Richter, and he is devastating. He is so devastating if you know how to play him. Anyways, these two builds heavily focus on maintaining your presence on the map through building full tank with health and armor, along with some other active cards we will go over in this build. So this is a full tank build. I think it's the best way to build Richter. If you're longer on the battlefield, you can do more pulls. If you can do more pulls, you can make more picks. If you can get more picks, you can push lanes. You have a numbers advantage. So you want to stay on the field. Alright, you don't want to focus on building damage. Yes, if you have damage, your pull and your ult will hurt, but I feel like just his pull, emphasizing his pull ability, and if you could pull more pulls off in a game, then I think you'll be more successful as Richter. So anyways, yeah, Richter relies heavily on his pull ability to make plays happen on the Paragon battlefield. As an aggressive support, it is crucial to be able and absorb damage when executing pulls and keeping enemies in a close proximity to you, buying time for your allies to capitalize on your whiplash ability. You don't want to pull someone and then they hit you like 3 times and you're already about to die. So building tanky is really vital for Richter. You know, you want to be able to pull someone in, silence them, ult them, keeping them there with you, and be able to take some damage while all that's going on, you know. So anyways, nonetheless, I hope these two builds complement aspiring Richter mains when they execute successful pulls, allowing them to dominate through sheer skill of utilizing Richter's abilities the right way and allowing your allies to secure the kills for you, just like every other support should rely on their allies to secure kills. Use your abilities. Your allies will capitalize on that, hopefully, if you got a good team. Rip the solo queue people out there, I feel you. But anyways, that's what the support does, and that's what we're going to be building Richter as today. So nonetheless, this top tier builds where we go from the early game to the mid game to the late game, break it down. I'm going to show you the first main build, the build I like rocking with. Then I'm going to show you the second build, which is kind of a situational build that I like using for certain situations, and I'll explain that later. It's a little bit different from the first build, but it's kind of the same concept, still the same thing. But anyways, let's get into the build. So as far as utility, go ahead and grab the Centurion as your prime card. You want to build full tanky. You're going to get 500 extra health when the prime buff is activated. On your first consumables, go ahead and grab a mana potion, another mana potion, and a health potion. So you're going to be rolling with a health potion and 2 mana potions. I like rolling with 2 mana potions because Richter is really mana intensive as far as the early game. So using your pull costs you 110 mana. If you have 2 mana potions, it allows you to use your pulls a lot more as Richter. So I like rolling with 2 mana potions. So that's what we're going to be rolling with as far as our first 3 points. So for the early game, our first card on our 3 points is going to be our Guardian's Ward. In the Guardian's Ward, go ahead and put 3, 2, 1 health. Do not fill this out when you grab it. Just slot it, get the ward, and then we're going to build into our other 3 minor cards. Alright, so slot your ward, don't upgrade it yet, and we're going to go into our 3 first minor cards for the early game. In the early game, you're going to go ahead and grab a Pendulum of Lords. And your Pendulum of Lords, go ahead and put 3 minor sparks. 1, 1, 1. This is going to be working on your mana regen as Richter. Once again, we emphasize that pull. So if we pull, we can stay on the battlefield a little bit longer and regain that mana to make another pull and use our abilities a lot more. On your second card, get an Amulet of the Veteran. Go ahead and put 3 lesser health. 1, 1, 1. We're going to build a little bit tanky. We're going to start building tanky so we can take some hits when we pull people in. So we can body block for our carry. So we could just take a little bit more damage and be a little bit more tanky when fights do break out on the battlefield. So anyways, we're going to get another Pendulum of Lords. Go ahead and put another 3 minor sparks in this as well. Again, emphasizing on mana regen. I know some of you guys don't have this many minor sparks, okay? It's okay if you don't have this many minor sparks. If you could do one of them, that is fine. If you can't do none of them, then it's fine. In this build, I use a total of 8 minor sparks, okay? So keep that in mind. So if you don't have 8 minor sparks, that is completely fine. If you can get a Pendulum of Lords with 1-1-2 or 2-2-1 or 3-2-1, even a 9-point card, that is completely fine. You will be all right, okay? I just think it's a little bit I just think it's crucial for Richter to have some mana regen in the early game, and that's the point of having these Pendulum of Lords, right? And if you don't have 3 lesser health, then just start building the health that's on your Guardian's Ward. You will get to the late game build a lot faster. But yet again, I like having early game cards because you get the fully upgraded bonuses, and those are really helpful when making a really good deck. So on to the mid game. In the mid game, go ahead and start upgrading the health that's in your ward. In your ward, you have 3-2-1 health. We slotted it in the early game. You can go ahead and start upgrading your ward now. Start grabbing the health that's from there. In your second card, you're going to grab an Amulet of the Veteran. In your Amulet of the Veteran, go ahead and put 3 greater health. 3, 3, 3 health. It's going to be a 12-point card. It's going to be our another health card. Yes, like I said, we're building really tanky, so we're going to have more health on this card. So you're going to have your ward and your Amulet of the Veteran with more health. Now on your other card, you're going to go ahead and grab Mind Flow. Mind Flow gives you 10% cooldown reduction when over 50% mana. Now, in your Mind Flow, go ahead and put 3 advanced mana. Another 12-point card, 3, 3, 3 mana. And it's going to allow you to have that big pool of mana that a lot of Richtors are going to need, because trust me, if you're playing as Richter, you burn through mana really quickly, more quickly than you might notice, especially for newer Richter new people playing Richter. You're going to use a lot of mana. You're not going to be pulling as many, you're not going to be pulling off so many pulls as a skilled Richter. A skilled master Richter probably wouldn't need this much mana, but yet again, they're more better at executing pulls. If you're starting out as playing as Richter, I find like the bigger mana pool helps you a lot. Allows you, to practice your pulls a lot more. Allows you to have more pulls basically, and I feel like it's a really good option to have that big mana pool. Plus, you're gonna have your mana regen going from your early game cards. So you're gonna be over 50% mana like 90% of the time, alright? So anyways, you're gonna grab the Mind Flow, Amulet of the Veteran, and your ward for the mid game. Now, when you have your Mind Flow already built up with 12 CXP, go ahead and get rid of your early game cards, okay? You can go ahead and get rid of your Amulet of the Veteran. You can get rid of your 2 minor Pendulum of Lords, or whatever early game cards you chose to put in if you substituted the cards that I was talking about. So you can go ahead and you can get rid of those, or you can start getting rid of them while you're building these cards up, alright? So that's when you start getting rid of your early game cards. When you shift into the mid game, start getting rid of your early game cards. Now we're going to shift into the late game. The late game build, you're going to go ahead and grab your TELE-BLINK. TELE-BLINK is going to be a 9-point card. You're going to have 1-1-2 mana regen. This is going to be the only type of mana regen that we have in this build. Once you get rid of your early game cards, I feel like you're not going to need as much mana regen because you already have such a big pool of mana with your Mind Flow. But it's nice, to have that mana regen so you can, stay over that 50% mana. And I usually find it, just this little bit of mana regen really helps a lot in the long run. Plus, TELE-BLINK allows Richter to have an escape. If you don't take damage for, I believe, is around 5 seconds, you can use your TELE-BLINK and teleport out of situations you don't need to be in. Another really cool thing about TELE-BLINK, if you're a good Richter main, you will probably already know this. You could use TELE-BLINK to close the gap on people and wham, pull them in. So you know, maybe you're in lane, you see somebody in the distance, boom, you blink to them, 1,500 units, and bam, then you pull. That is such a huge range to get a pick. So if you can TELE-BLINK to someone and pull someone, then that is just awesome. It is harder to TELE-BLINK. I don't recommend using TELE-BLINK if you're a newer Richter main, because it is hard to TELE-BLINK and then pull. It's really hard because usually by the time you TELE-BLINK, the person in front of you will move. But if you're a good Richter main and you know how to pull people in and you can, you know, predict where they're gonna go, then TELE-BLINK is awesome and is devastating. I have used it to more of the time to escape, but I do use it to pull people in sometimes. I've done it like a couple times, but it definitely is harder. But I like using it as an escape and as our mana regen card. Now, if you don't want TELE-BLINK, there's another really good card. It's called SHOCKWAVE. SHOCKWAVE gives you the same options. Go ahead and put 112 Spark. SHOCKWAVE, basically, when you pull someone in, you can activate it and it will slow enemies around you for 2 seconds for, I believe, negative 250 movement speed. So if you don't want TELE-BLINK, SHOCKWAVE is a great compensation for TELE-BLINK, and it still gives you mana regen. Anyways, let's go on to the last 2 cards we will need in this build, and that is your Toon Barrier and your Tempered Plate. In your Tempered Plate and your Toon Barrier, you're going to put 3, 2, 1 points of armor and barrier. So that is your armor. Like I said, you don't have to go in this build order. You can get your Toon Barrier first, or you can get your Tempered Plate first, or you could take your TELE-BLINK first. It's all up to you. It's all situational. There is no set in stone way to build this build, okay? So these are minor guidelines, right? So just keep that in mind when you're watching these builds. These are guidelines. You know, if the game is really situational, Paragon is really situational. Maybe I might need my Toon Barrier first, you know, because they have a lot of ability damage. Or maybe I need my Tempered Plate first, you know. Or maybe I have the convenience of taking my TELE-BLINK first. You know, it's all situational. But these are your late game cards. Usually, if you got the best situation, these are your late game cards. And then the other cards are early game, mid game. So this is the final build at 60 CXP level 15. You will have an extra 1,100 extra health. You will have an extra 63 basic armor. You will have an extra 36 ability armor. You will have plus 300 extra mana. And you will have an extra 1.5 mana regen. So those are the stats. You can add them up and see how much, you know, health and total armor you got. But those are the stats. Also, some stats from the cards we have. You consume 75 mana to teleport forward with your TELE-BLINK. You cannot activate it though after 5 seconds of taking damage, so keep that in mind. So it's a great engagement tool, but you can also use it to escape in certain situations. Obviously, we got our Shadow Ward, and we got our Mind Flow. When you're over 50% mana, you gain 10% cooldown reduction. So that is the full build for the main build. So this is the second build, alright? I like using this build when they have a lot of CC, so if they have a Rampage, a Decker, or just a lot of crowd control, I like using this build. The same thing, this is the early game. Centurion, 2 mana potions, a health token, 2 health potions, and then the same early game cards, 2 Pendulum of Lords and 1 Amulet of the Veteran, both with 1 point upgrades. The Amulet of the Veteran with 3 lesser health, and then the Pendulum of Lords with 3 lesser sparks. So that's the early game for the second part of the build. Now let's look at the final part of the build for the second deck. So this is the final build for deck number 2. There are some major differences if you don't see them already. Your Mind Flow card is still the same. You're going to have 3 advanced manas. You can pick Shockwave or TELE-BLINK, and you're going to go ahead and put 112 mana regen. Then you're going to have your Divine Shield, which is our unique card. You're going to have 1 point of ability armor in that to make it a 9-point card. And the major difference is your Guardian's Ward is going to have 3 greater health. So it's going to be a 12-point card. It's going to be 3 greater health. That's going to be our health card. And your Toon Barrier, you're going to go ahead and put 3, 2 of armor and then 1 point of health. So you're going to put 1 lesser health. You're going to have a little bit less armor than the first build, but you're going to have Divine Shield. That's what we make room for it. Same thing with your Tempered Plate. 3 and 2 worth of armor and then 1 point of health so lesser health. Those are the major differences between the two, but I like using this deck when they have a lot of crowd control. If they have a Decker, a Rampage, or a Sevrog that uses a lot of crowd control, Divine Shield is a pretty good card to counter that and allows you to secure more pulls as Richter so you don't get stunned as much. So that's why we have the second build, and that's what I like using them for, just in case there's a team with a lot of crowd control. But anyways, those are the two decks that I have for Richter. Like I said, I like rolling with the main one because it's more tanky. The second build is still good. You're going to have less health and less armor, but you are going to have that unique card that's going to help prevent those stuns and those roots and stuff that are really, really deadly. Especially for Richter if he doesn't have an escape. So that's why I like having that second build as an option when I do have my Richter decks. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this build video. I hope you learned something or you found this build useful. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me grow as a smaller channel here on Paragon, and it makes me do more build videos like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. Tell me your guys' build. How do you guys build Richter? Do you guys build them the same way? Do you guys build them with damage? I would love to hear about that in the comments. But anyways, it's your boy Raptrz. And I'll see you guys on Paragon. Peace.